Welcome to NTD Evening News. Our top story tonight, the Trump administration saying it'll pay half of November's SNAP benefits. And President Trump will hold tele-rallies for the Virginia and New Jersey races ahead of Election Day tomorrow. The New York City mayoral race has seen the highest early in-person turnout ever for a non-presidential election. What does this year's election mean for America's largest city? Luis Martinez reports. And in Virginia, from a fierce fight for governor to a scandal shaking the attorney general's race, Jack Bradley tells us what tomorrow's election could mean for both parties and voter sentiment on the first 10 months of President Trump's second term. And the Supreme Court will decide whether President Trump has the authority to put reciprocal tariffs in place, but Trump says he won't be attending the oral arguments as originally planned. Jason Blair has more on why the president will be in Miami instead.
This is NTD Evening News, live from our global headquarters in New York City. Here's Tiffany Meier.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. Does President Trump have the authority to impose reciprocal tariffs? The Supreme Court is hearing the case this week, but Trump says he no longer plans to attend the proceedings. NTD correspondent Jason Blair has more.
I think it's the most important decision, one of the most important decisions in the history of our country.
The U.S. Supreme Court is hearing arguments this week on whether Donald Trump has infringed on federal law with his tariffs. Lower courts ruled that the president didn't have the authority to use an emergency power law to push his tariffs into place. Trump says it would be a disaster if the Supreme Court fails to overturn the lower court's ruling.
Without our being able to use tariffs freely, openly, and in every way, we really would suffer tremendously from a national security standpoint. The national security of our country is at stake.
However, despite this, President Trump says that he no longer plans to attend oral arguments for the case this week as originally planned. He says he doesn't want to draw attention to himself.
It's not about me, it's about our country. I wanted to go so badly. I just don't want to do anything to deflect the importance of that decision.
Recently, China backtracked on its threats to limit rare earth exports in a new deal with the U.S. after President Trump threatened China last month with a 100% tariff increase.
China, that was going to be a disaster for the world, and I was able to settle it very quickly, very easily, because I was able to use tariffs.
And last month, President Trump terminated trade talks with Canada over an ad featuring former President Ronald Reagan speaking against protectionist measures. The president suggested that the ad was intended to interfere with the Supreme Court case. The case is being heard on Wednesday. President Trump is scheduled to speak in Miami at the American Business Forum. Other speakers at the event include former CEO Eric Schmidt, U.S. Special Envoy for the Middle East Steve Witkoff, and Argentinian President Javier Milei. Jason Blair, NTD News.
Early voting in New York City has wrapped up ahead of tomorrow's mayoral election. What do each of the main candidates stand for, and what does this race mean for the nation's largest city and the future of politics in America? NTD's Luis Martinez has details on this story.
The Democratic Party is having a civil war. You don't hear it, you don't see it, but it's going on in this election. And there's two sides that are fighting. You have a far-left extremist group that are called themselves socialists. Socialist sounds nice, utopia. Socialism hasn't worked anywhere.
Former Governor Andrew Cuomo lost the Democratic primaries back in June, but is running as an independent. He is promising to increase the police force by 5,000 officers, but maintain the sanctuary city laws in place.
We are going to freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants and use every resource at our disposal to build housing for everyone who needs it. We are going to eliminate the fare on every single bus line, and we are going to create universal childcare at no cost to parents.
Zohran Mamdani, a self-proclaimed socialist with no managerial experience, has served as a New York State Assemblyman since 2021. He has promised expanded welfare through increased taxes.
Desperate people do desperate things. Here is the disgraced governor who's like a political zombie come back from the dead. I have the Republican principles, law and order, It is Andrew Cuomo, who is the architect of no cash bail that has led us to the crime crisis we're in. His apprentice is Zohran Mamdani.
Curtis Sliwa, the Republican candidate, is running on a quality of life platform, promising to improve basic services and reduce the tax burden on small businesses. Sliwa stands in contrast to the left-leaning candidates Cuomo and Mamdani, who have expressed open opposition to President Trump and the federal government.
ICE is a reckless entity that cares little for the law and even less for the people that they're supposed to serve. What we need to be doing here in our city is to end the chapter of collaboration between City Hall and the federal government.
Over 735,000 New Yorkers have already cast their ballots ahead of Tuesday's election, making it the largest ever in-person early voting in the city's history. Reporting from City Hall, New York City, Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
And in New Jersey, the closely contested governor's race between Democrat Mikey Sherrill and Republican Jack Ciattarelli is also drawing national attention. While it's not a presidential or midterm year, the outcome of several races tomorrow could have major implications for where the country could be headed. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more on the elections in Virginia.
New Jersey and Virginia are the only states in the nation to choose their governor 1 year after the presidential election. And here in Virginia, it's the only state where a governor cannot run 2 consecutive terms. Vying for the seat is Democrat Abigail Spanberger and Republican Winsome Earl Sears. Polls show Spanberger with a steady lead in a state that's leaned blue in recent presidential elections. Spanberger, a former CIA officer and 3-term congresswoman, is pitching herself as the change candidate, hoping to win back the governor's mansion for Democrats. She says her top priority is the economy, arguing against the Trump administration's federal workforce cuts.
We need a governor who will speak up when careless, chaotic, reckless economic policies out of Washington hurt our economy.
But Abigail has real, practical plans to grow the economy and strengthen Virginia's schools and lower the cost of everything from housing to health care to energy.
Earl Sears is the current lieutenant governor, a Marine Corps veteran and Jamaican immigrant. She's running on the economy with a message to keep a good thing going after 4 years of Republican leadership under Governor Glenn Youngkin. She also warns of her opponent's energy policies.
She wants to put us back in something called the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which means they're going to tell you what kind of stove you can buy, and it's only electric. They're going to tell you what car you can drive, and it's only electric.
That race, and also the race in New Jersey, is going to be energy. Both of the Democrats are going to drive the energy prices through the roof.
In the race for Virginia's Attorney General, polls are plunging for the Democrat candidate Jay Jones. That's after violent text messages Jones sent while a state delegate in 2022 came to light. In the messages, Jones wished for the assassination of the former Republican Speaker of the Virginia House and his children.
I am ashamed. I am embarrassed. And I'm sorry. I cannot take back what I said. But you have my word that I will always be accountable for my mistakes.
The incumbent Republican Attorney General Jason Meier has been marginally ahead in the polls, and the race is likely to be close.
All of the areas of federal and state local law department, how can they ever take you seriously, be the top prosecutor, knowing that you view that children should die to advance a political agenda?
It's not just who wins, but by how much. That could be a good barometer to determine next year's midterm elections and voter approval of President Trump's first 10 months in office in his second term. Reporting from Richmond, Virginia, Jack Bradley, NTD News.
The Trump administration announcing it's paying half of November's SNAP benefits, and President Trump holding election eve tele-rallies for the Virginia and New Jersey gubernatorial races. We now go live to NTD's Mari Otsu, who's in Raritan, New Jersey, where Republican gubernatorial candidate Jack Ciattarelli's election eve rally is about to happen. Good evening, Mari. What is the latest from the Trump administration today?
Tiff, good evening. Yes, the Trump administration is announcing today that it will use contingency funds to pay for 2 weeks' worth of food assistance benefits in November. And this is coming as the funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly known as SNAP, which supports more than 40 million Americans, stopped over the weekend as the government shutdown reached its second month. President Trump said on Friday that he instructed his lawyers to clarify how to legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. Here's the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson on President Trump's efforts. Take a look.
President Trump just truthed out that he's very anxious to get this done, and it's got to go through the courts. The courts keep jamming up things. Democrats are in the middle of a civil war, and they should just open the government. That is the easiest way to do this.
The president is desperate for SNAP benefits to flow to the American citizens who desperately rely upon it. He has bent over backwards, as you know, to get the troops paid, to keep WIC funding going. He's found creative solutions.
Some Democrats, meanwhile, are calling on the Trump administration to fund SNAP fully, not just partially. And tonight, President Trump is expected to participate in election eve tele-rallies for the Virginia and the New Jersey races. President Trump formerly endorsed Assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli last month, and on Sunday, he called for the Orthodox Jewish communities in Lakewood, New Jersey, to turn out in, quote, huge numbers for Ciattarelli. President Trump cites Lakewood as one of his biggest wins during his 2024 presidential campaign, having gotten more than 90% of the vote there. And we visited Lakewood on our way to Ciattarelli's election eve rally here in Raritan tonight. Here's what some of the locals there had to say. Take a look.
Just in the face of anti-Semitism and safety, which is our main concern, I feel that Jack Ciattarelli aligns with President Trump in helping us keep the country very safe. It's actually very petrifying what's going on in New York City. And it's probably going to happen is a lot of Jewish people are going to come over to New Jersey if this candidate wins.
Abraham, let's get the kids. It's my son. You want to say hello, Abraham? Hey, kids. Say, definitely Jack Ciattarelli. Definitely by far. First of all, he's a man of the people. He loves pizza. He just seems comfortable in a regular mom and pop store, and I believe that he's going to do what he's going to say to do. Mike Sherrill just doesn't look, she doesn't look so believable. So definitely with Jack. A lot of people are running scared. If New York goes down that route, New Jersey could be the next.
And in just a couple of hours, Jack Ciattarelli will be here for his last rally before Election Day. Here's a moment from his first campaign event today when his son Jake, an Army captain, deployed to Kuwait, surprised his father with a visit. Take a look. And tonight, President Trump is weighing in on the NYC mayoral election, endorsing Democratic candidate Andrew Cuomo. He says on Truth Social that he would, quote, rather see a Democrat who has a record of success win than a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. The president further harshly criticized Mamdani, saying a win by Mamdani would bring, quote, economic and social disaster to New York City, adding that communist principles have never once been successful in history. Tiff, back to you.
All right, Mari, thanks for those updates. As the Trump administration taps into an emergency fund to keep the SNAP food stamp program going, what will happen when that fund runs out, likely before Thanksgiving? Hear from Lee Nevis and Bobby Eberle tonight on Capitol Hill with Steve Lance at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And severe staffing shortages due to the shutdown are causing widespread flight delays across the country. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy spoke on CNBC today regarding air traffic controller shortages.
Is there more risk in the system when you have a shutdown? Absolutely, there's more risk. But if we thought that it was unsafe, we'll shut the whole airspace down. We won't let people travel. We're not there at this point. It's just significant delays.
According to FAA data, this past weekend marked the worst for air traffic control staffing shortages since the shutdown began. Their absences have led to tens of thousands of delays at some of the busiest U.S. airports. The shutdown has forced 13,000 air traffic controllers and 50,000 Transportation Security Administration officers to work without pay. Duffy said he has no plans to fire air traffic controllers who are calling in sick. He said the FAA was already short of 3,500 air traffic controllers even before the shutdown. Airlines have repeatedly urged Congress to pass a continuing resolution and end the shutdown. Are everyday Americans feeling the impact of the government shutdown? NTD's Sam Wong was out on the National Mall in D.C. to hear from the people.
Are you feeling the effect of the shutdown yet?
Me personally, no. But I can feel it just from observing some of the people around me that work within the government that have missed a couple of checks.
Not really. Basically, the only thing that I've noticed is my mom sent me a package and it was a week late, but other than that, that's about it.
Yes, I'm actually a business owner, and we do construction and government contracting, so we definitely feel that.
Feeling the effect of having all the museums and things closed here in Washington, but we're still enjoying the time here.
A little bit of a bummer, huh?
A little bit of a bummer. I would hope that the people that we elect in government would, come together and get this thing open.
Which political party do you think is to blame for this shutdown?
Man, they're both guilty. They need to find a solution soon because people need to eat.
Democrats, I think they are focusing on things that aren't as important as the bigger picture.
I think it's the political administration that we have in place right now because he's trying to control things that he really has no business trying to control.
It seems it's pretty obvious that it must be the Democrat Party because they've been voting on it 13 times to get it open or whatever the count is by now. It was a clean CR 7-8 months ago that they voted, so why can't they just keep extending it?
Politically, which party do you think is winning in terms of messaging?
I think the Republican Party. I'm trying to be objective about it, to hear both sides, and I don't see what the Democrats are trying, what their long game is.
Honestly, the Democratic Party, I think they're winning currently. It's just this game, the Republicans are saying, do the right thing, sign, open up the government, but we don't know what's in this budget plan that, Democrats might feel a little hesitant about.
I think the Republicans are winning this right now. It's hurting more of us as Democrats than it is Republicans. We're the ones that usually are the workers, and we're the ones that support health care and support rights for everybody, and they're trying to take that away.
I think the Republicans, because they've made it clear what needs to happen for this to be resolved, and I think the Democrats are being stubborn, and I think it's coming at the cost of real people. I've been hearing all over that SNAP is about to run out of food and people are going to suffer. So I think it really is just we're talking about common sense.
Coming up in Israel, the bodies of 3 hostages have been identified, one of whom was an American. Meanwhile, a former Israeli officer was arrested for leaking a video allegedly showing the abuse of a Palestinian detainee. Jason Perry reports. President Trump says he's not planning to provide Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles. Arian Pazdar has more on Trump's response when he was asked about the possibility of sending Kyiv the long-range weapons. That and more when we return. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meier. In the Middle East, Israel has confirmed the identities of 3 deceased hostages whose bodies were returned on Sunday, one of whom was an American. Meanwhile, a former Israeli officer has been arrested for leaking a video that allegedly shows Israeli troops abusing a Palestinian detainee. NTD's Jason Perry has the details.
The mother of a deceased hostage waited for over 2 years to receive her son's body, which was handed over from the Gaza Strip on Sunday.
For 758 days, we lived between hope and heartbreak. Today, that long night ends. At last, we can begin the process of bringing Omer to his final resting place in the land he loved and defended.
Her son, Omer Nutra, an Israeli American, died while defending Israeli communities during the Hamas terrorist attack on October 7th, and terrorists took his body back to the Gaza Strip. The 2 other bodies that Hamas handed over on Sunday were confirmed to be Oz Daniel and Colonel Asaf Hamami. Omer's mother also thanked President Trump and U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff for helping to return the hostages, and she called for the bodies of the 8 remaining hostages to be returned. And the Israeli government spokeswoman said on Monday that Hamas knows where those bodies are located.
The intelligence that we have indicates that Hamas knows exactly where the bodies of these deceased hostages are located. We are expecting them to be returned.
Meanwhile, Turkey hosted a meeting with other foreign ministers about the future of the Gaza Strip. And Turkey said that Hamas is ready to transfer the government of the Gaza Strip to a committee made up of Palestinians.
The point we support is that Palestinians should govern Palestinians, and Palestinians should ensure the security of Palestinians. The international community should provide support in order for this to be implemented in the best possible way.
In another development, the Israeli military's former top legal officer recently admitted to leaking a video of Israeli soldiers allegedly abusing a Palestinian male detainee. The video was originally leaked in 2024, and it shows Israeli troops picking up a detainee, taking him to the side of a room, and holding up riot shields in what appears to be an attempt to block the cameras. And on Sunday night, the former officer who leaked the video was arrested. Authorities say she will be held at least until Wednesday as the investigation continues. The Times of Israel quotes the former officer as saying she authorized the release of the tape to counter propaganda that was directed at military law enforcement authorities. Jason Perry, NTD News.
After weeks of requests from Ukraine, President Trump says he's not planning to provide the country with Tomahawk missiles. And Interior Secretary Doug Burgum discusses Russia's oil profits during his Middle East visit. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pozdar has the Russia update.
Your administration provide Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles? Is that something that you're not considering that?
No, not really.
President Trump denies reports claiming he decided to provide Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles. Ukraine requested the missiles a few weeks ago. It would have allowed Kiev to strike targets deep inside Russia, as far as Moscow even. Russia previously said sending weapons to Ukraine would not help achieve any peace settlement. And Interior Secretary Doug Burgum is at a major oil summit in Abu Dhabi on Monday. Trump has long been calling on OPEC to lower oil prices, saying that high oil prices fuel Russia's war machine.
Our policy is to sell energy to our friends and allies so that they don't have to buy from our adversaries. For too long, and it's happening right now, the Russia and Ukraine war is being funded by energy sales.
On Sunday, OPEC Plus decided to increase its production by an additional 137,000 barrels of oil beginning in December. Burgum says he welcomes the decision. And Ukraine is set to open weapons exports offices in Berlin and Copenhagen. That's according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who made the announcement on Monday.
We are ready to work in naval drones. We have more of them than we use. There are also artillery systems, and although, frankly speaking, we can't have too many of them, we are now producing a lot.
Zelensky didn't specify how many naval drones and artillery systems Ukraine is planning to sell. The fighting continues meanwhile. Russia released this video on Monday, appearing to show strikes on a village near the strategic eastern transport hub of Pokrovsk. Russia recently deployed 300 troops to the area, but Zelensky says they're not having any success.
The enemy has not had any success in Pokrovsk in recent days. The commander-in-chief is now at the front, and he deals with Pokrovsk. And yes, it's him personally.
And Russia is strengthening ties with China on Monday. Russia's prime minister is meeting with the premier of China, vowing closer coordination on security and other issues. Zelensky recently said Ukraine has found that China is directly supporting Russia's war effort in various ways, including militarily and financially. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
Coming up, former governor and New York City mayoral candidate Andrew Cuomo rallies Chinese supporters in Flushing and Manhattan Chinatowns ahead of tomorrow's election. Arlene Richards reports. And Republican mayoral candidate Curtis Sliwa isn't slowing down either. He continued his campaign blitz across the city today. David Lamb has more from Staten Island when we return. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meier. As the New York City's mayor's race heads into its final stretch, former Governor Andrew Cuomo headed to Flushing and Manhattan's Chinatown to meet with Chinese supporters. NTD's Arlene Richards has more.
Early voting just ended in New York's mayoral race this weekend with 735,000 ballots cast. It's the highest early voter turnout in New York's history for a non-presidential race. The candidates have been making their final pitches across the city as Election Day approaches on Tuesday. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo on Monday met with an enthusiastic crowd of Chinese supporters in Flushing. Local organizer Michael Nussbaum was keeping track of Cuomo's activities for the day.
This is the day before Election Day. Andrew is going to cover every single county, all the communities in New York. You know, New York is an amazing city, and he's going to touch base in every borough. Flushing is the center of the Chinese community, and that's where he's going to be today, as well as the other communities throughout New York. So he's going to the Bronx and the Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island, and here in Queens, Flushing.
Nussbaum is expecting Cuomo to also make the rounds on Tuesday, Election Day. He's hopeful about the momentum Cuomo has made in recent weeks.
Well, you know what? The last couple of weeks there's been an incredible surge, and you can see that surge with the early voting. So 750,000 people already voted. That's a jump of close to 50% of what it was 4 years ago. And I think that maybe there'll be a surprise on Election Day. That's what we're hoping. You know, candidates can't be too confident in terms of what they assume, and you don't have to believe in the polls. It's what the people are going to be doing on Election Day.
Cuomo walked through the streets of Flushing surrounded by an entourage of supporters. He greeted Flushing residents who were happy to shake his hand, take selfies, and cheer him on. Cuomo supporter Alan Brava, who lives in the heart of the Flushing Chinese community, was confident that Cuomo is the right man for the job.
It's been a difficult period of time for all of us, I think, in the United States. I'm beginning to think the politicians get elected with our wishes to do good, but once they get elected, they do what they want. And I believe that former Governor Andrew Cuomo will do what we want when he gets elected.
But he said elections are tricky.
The advanced voting, like hundreds of thousands, like 1 million. So I hope that's a good sign that people are concerned that our city does not end up in chaos. I have nothing against people learning to become a leader, but not at the expense of running the most significant city in the United States.
Thank you very much. After Flushing, Cuomo stopped in Manhattan's Chinatown. During an event at the Manhattan Chinatown Senior Center, Cuomo said this is the most important election of his lifetime.
It's not between two people. It's not between two parties, Democrat, Republican. It's between two very different philosophies. I am a Democrat. My father was a Democrat. I worked for Bill Clinton, a Democrat. I supported Barack Obama, a Democrat. My opponent is a socialist and wants to make New York City a socialist city, and socialism has not worked anywhere on the globe, not in Venezuela, not in Cuba, and it's not going to work in New York City.
On Tuesday, New York City voters will get the last chance to pick the candidate of their choice. Brava has a message for them.
Get out and vote.
Arlene Richards, NTD News.
And joining us now to dive into the New York City mayoral race is our great panel. Robin Biro is a Democratic strategist and former Obama regional campaign director. And Brad Palumbo is a Steamboat Institute Blankley Fellow and co-founder of Based Politics. Thank you both so much for being here. Now, it might be an off year, but New York City is seeing record turnout, especially among new voters. By Sunday night, over 700,000 had already voted, suggesting that the Big Apple could see over 2 million votes. That's a level not seen since David Dinkins and Rudy Giuliani faced off in 1989 and again in 1993. Robin, starting with you, what do you make of those numbers and what's driving New Yorkers to the polls?
Well, specifically, look at the demographics of the voters. The biggest constituency are the boomer generation who voted early, followed closely by my generation, Gen X. So I would say that those tend to be more conservative. it can be generally said that people, as they get older, tend to trend a little bit more conservative. So I would tend to think that those votes favor someone more like Cuomo or Sliwa, probably splitting the vote, than maybe more so Mamdani. But I do expect that he will end up prevailing, Mamdani, that is. It's just the only way that it would have been a viable campaign were to have been if Cuomo or Sliwa had dropped out, because with the two of them still in, they split their vote.
And Brad, same question to you. What do you make of those numbers and what's driving New Yorkers to the polls?
Well, I think the youth vote is going to be huge, and Zohran Mamdani is almost certainly going to be the next mayor of New York City. And who knows, maybe we'll get a chance to see how his far left fringe ideas will work out if actually implemented for once. There will, of course, be some serious constraints on how much he can actually do, but on areas like policing, where he has said that queer liberation requires defunding the police and had a whole career dedicated to the most radical left-wing ideas about public safety, he will have a lot of leeway and power and authority to restructure law enforcement in the city. And unless he's really had a huge change of heart from his whole career to this sudden pivot he's done in like the last 6 months to a year, I think we'll see chaos in the streets in New York City, and maybe some of the young people casting their ballots might have regrets. Although, unfortunately, they didn't exactly have much of a appealing alternative in Andrew Cuomo either, given his record.
And Robin, it is a very high-profile race. You have the likes of Elon Musk, President Trump expressing support for Andrew Cuomo. And actually today on Truth Social, Trump said he likely won't be sending federal dollars to New York City if Mamdani wins, quote, because of the fact that as a communist, this once great city has zero chance of success or even survival. He added, whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. What influence is the Trump factor having on this race? Who's benefiting or hurting from it?
About the same amount as Obama's factor. And he also today said that he was available to Mamdani if Mamdani needed to speak with him and get any guidance. This last 24 hours of the campaign, I'm not certain if Mamdani has taken him up on that. That's not an endorsement per se. That is the next closest thing that is offering support as someone experienced in politics, of course, to someone, a junior like Mamdani, who is 34 years old. But it fell short of being an endorsement, just as Trump's he's supporting a Democrat, moderate, but mind you, a moderate, almost conservative Democrat, but a Democrat nonetheless. I think it's more telling that he's not supporting Curtis Sliwa, who's made it known that he's the Republican in the race.
And Brad, what do you make of this Trump factor? We are hearing some people say they're voting for Mamdani just because, anti-Trump. Others are maybe voting for Cuomo because Trump is giving his nod. What do you make of that factor?
Yeah, look, I don't think Trump's endorsement or support will have much of an impact in New York City, especially when it comes to Andrew Cuomo. And I actually think Trump is getting ahead of himself with some of these warnings. I mean, to suggest that the city will never recover or will be irreparably destroyed just because Mamdani wins, I think is not true. New York City is actually resilient, and Zohran will not be able to implement most of his far left agenda because of the state legislature and then the New York City City Council. So I think Trump's getting out ahead of his skis there, and frankly, I'm not sure his endorsement helps Cuomo massively. It probably helps him with some folks, but in New York City hurts him with many others.
And Robin, actually expanding on that, Mamdani is a self-described democratic socialist, but people like President Trump label him a communist. What do you see as the impact of Mamdani on New York City? If he does become the next mayor, what are the biggest changes we'd likely see?
He's specifically said, so the other two candidates, Cuomo and Sliwa, said that they were going to expand the police force, one by 5,000, one by 7,000. In contrast, Mamdani said that he would hire public safety workers and officers and have a public safety program who don't have police power. That's quite a difference. So if there are thousands of public safety workers without police power, hopefully crime will be down. But without police power, I'm not sure to what extent. That's just for New York. What it will have is a greater impact on the Democratic Party itself. I'd like to speak about that for just 20 seconds. If he wins this election, which he's projected, which I expect him to, I expect that some of the leaders within my party will be calling for the party to go further left. Typically, anytime the Democratic Party loses a big election like the general election last year, the calls are almost always to go further left, which will be a net drag on candidates come the midterms. Tiffany.
And Brad, something not discussed as much in this debate is New York City Council. The Democrats have a supermajority there, 45 Democrats, 6 Republicans. Now, many of these races are actually up for election tomorrow, and the City Council has the power of overriding the mayor's, vetoes here. How important are these races for New York City?
Well, the city council is hugely important in the conversation about Zohran as mayor because Democrats are going to control it. But the question is, which faction of Democrats? Will it be Zohran's ideological allies, the far leftists, or will it be a more somewhat moderate centrist type of city councilor? Because then they may keep some of his tax hikes or big spending plans in check and not necessarily approve them. And he can't do it all by himself. A lot of it does require from his colleagues, his legislative colleagues' approval. So who wins some of those races will be key to see how much of a blank check Zohran ends up having to enact his utopian agenda on New York City.
Definitely a lot at stake here for sure. Brad Palumbo, Robin Byro, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Republican mayoral candidate Curtis Sliwa continues his campaign blitz, his message focusing on public safety, and today he was on Staten Island. NTD's David Lamb reports.
Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa, who's also the founder of Guardian Angels, which is a volunteer group that patrols New York City to prevent crime. He gave a conference earlier today addressing what he believes is necessary.
Tell you, one thing has definitely resonated in that we have preserved democracy. One person, one vote, which is the basis of our country. This election clearly has put the shot callers, the billionaires, the influencers, and the insiders on notice. They're not going to choose who gets elected by the people. The people will choose. One person, one vote. Democracy is fully alive. And that's what's so exciting about this election. I'm the happy warrior.
Sliwa also said that he's confident about what he has been doing during his campaign trail, saying that he visited over 300 or about 350 neighborhoods, speaking to people during this entire time.
One word, what Staten Island needs from the next mayor or any mayor is love. We are the forgotten borough. We are always thrown the garbage, whether it's the illegal alien shelters that I led along with Curtis and a few others to fight against, and they shut them down. First time in this country's history.
I'd love Curtis to win, but unfortunately we have to go for Cuomo. Definitely not Mamdani. His policies are not realistic for New York City. We'll never get free buses. That's New York City's bread and butter.
Sliwa has not slowed down, especially on the eve of Election Day. Folks on Staten Island shared their thoughts with NTD.
He's an old school New York. He's worried about from New Yorkers, and he's from New York, so he supports us more than anybody.
I just needed to get cleaner and more like community centers for the kids and stuff, so they got somewhere to hang out.
Affordable housing for sure. That we definitely need that. I would like to see cleaner streets if possible.
The roads. I'm a driver. The roads, the community, just more like down south hospitality in a sense, if that makes sense.
This might be specific to me, but when it comes to like driving, like helping with like, parking and stuff, like instead of like overcharging for parking, and I know they started this congestion toll. I guess that helps with the crowding.
Honestly, I don't really have any opinions on them. If any of them can actually do half the stuff they say they're gonna do, then I'm down. But other than that, no, I'm really.
You need new. You need new because it keeps it up to date. When you old, you have old stuff with you. So
I would like for them to focus on keeping New York clean. Yeah. And the poverty is like really big out here. Taking care of the homeless people as well.
Yeah, they need to do better. Right now, the train stations, they're not doing good. The bus stops, look, so much crime be going on. all over New York City, it's not even funny, you know? Safety should definitely be at utmost way more people in it.
You have 24 hours to get off the fence and save your city.
Reporting in New York City, David Lamb, NTD News.
And election night is almost here. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night at 7 p.m. to get the latest election results with live analysis from our data reporters and on-the-ground team. NTD Steve Lance and myself will bring you our live special coverage of all the biggest races. That's tomorrow, November 4th, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, only here on NTD. Don't miss it. Coming up, Dodger Blue flooded downtown Los Angeles as fans celebrated another World Series win. The city came alive as players shared the victory with thousands of their fans. Details when we return. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meier. The Los Angeles Dodgers are the 2025 World Series champions. Fans flooded downtown Los Angeles for a victory parade and celebration. Dodger players and coaches rode the 45-minute parade route, bringing the excitement right through the heart of the city. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more from the celebration.
We're here in the heart of downtown LA, where the Dodgers are celebrating their back-to-back World Series championship with a massive parade. Fans lined up early this morning to secure the perfect spot to get a glimpse of their favorite player riding down Grand Avenue on the double-decker bus. There's music, there's chanting, there's dancing. There's something for every Dodger fan to enjoy.
Tens of thousands of fans dressed in Dodger blue gathered to see their champions and the World Series trophy cruise through the streets of Los Angeles. The Dodgers defeated the Toronto Blue Jays 5-4 in Game 7 on Saturday night, clinching the team's 9th World Series title, securing their 3rd World Series championship in 5 years.
Man, that was the most stressful game I ever seen in my life, dude. That thing was crazy. It was well-deserved.
The World Series trophy cruised through a 2-mile stretch of downtown Los Angeles, ending at Dodger Stadium. Even the youngest Dodger fans came out to celebrate.
Go Dodgers!
We asked fans who are they most excited to see.
Honestly, the person that I'm really excited for is Mookie.
Yamamoto and the Dodgers, you know, we're champions back to back.
Yoshi, shout out to Yoshi, shout out to Mookie. Ohtani, the whole team, I ain't gonna lie. Even Dave Roberts, shout out to Dave Roberts. We live and direct, let's go.
I am excited to see Ohtani and Will Smith.
Some fans said it wasn't just about the players. They came out for the people and the atmosphere.
Been a Dodgers fan since knee-high. I mean, I just came out here to see everyone have a good time.
The celebration continued at Dodger Stadium with a sold-out rally featuring the players, team management, entertainment, food, and exclusive merchandise. The Dodgers are now the first team in 25 years to win back-to-back World Series titles.
As you can tell, the Dodger fans are excited. They saw all of their favorite players, and many of them are hoping for a three-peat win next year. Reporting from the city of Los Angeles, Christina Corona, NTD News.
And that's all for today's news. For on-the-clock coverage, visit us at ntd.com/live or download our NTD app. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Tiffany Meier. Good night.